A couple months after Amy and I got married, the lead pastor of our church approached me and asked me if I would be interested in becoming an elder at the church. Now, you have to understand, I was 23 years old. I was pretty flattered by the invitation to be on the elder board at the time, but for many years before that, I had already made up my mind that I was not going to be on the church leadership team. And so when our pastor came back and asked me if I'd prayed about it, and I said, yeah, I prayed about it, but I'm not going to be able to be on the elder team with you. Sorry about that. And obviously, he was pretty disappointed, but he was also never one to give up easily. So a month later, he approached me again, and he asked if I'd be willing to hear him out on the responsibilities associated with that particular position at his house over dinner. Now, apparently, he knew something about me, because if you dangle free food in front of my face, I hear you out on pretty much anything you want to be heard on. So I headed over to his house one evening after work, and after being greeted at the door and sitting down, I obviously started scarfing down the food that was put in front of me. I tend to eat a lot for whatever reason. And he dove right into talking about some of the responsibilities associated with being an elder. Now, I don't know if it was something he put in the pancakes or just the way he talked about it, but I went into that conversation completely convinced I didn't want anything to do with church leadership. But somehow I came out of the conversation convinced that this is exactly what God had for me at that moment in time. I was completely sold. What I experienced that night was nothing short of repentance. Now, that's not a mindset shift towards God, but a mindset shift towards becoming an elder in our church. After saying my goodbyes, I hopped back in my car and I gave Amy a quick call to let her know I was on the way home. And, of course, in the midst of the conversation, she asked me how the meeting had gone. I told her I had accepted the invitation to become an elder. Now, I don't know exactly what expression came across Amy's face or how she would have responded in person, but I'm certain that it turned out better for me that we weren't in the same room. You see, I'm one of the lucky few people who have experienced the wrath of Amy, and that night, I got a chance to experience it yet again. What did we talk about? She asked rhetorically. Didn't we decide you weren't going to be an elder? I spent the remainder of my 10-minute drive home attempting to persuade her that this was what was best for me and this is what was best for the church. And by the time our conversation ended that evening, she was far from being convinced I'd made a good unilateral decision. But nonetheless, she decided to support my decision. Now I have to ask the question, why is it important for us to make decisions together? Now as a Christian, I look at the Bible and I take a lot of stock in what the Bible has to say. In the Bible, we're told that when two people are married, they become one. Now, I know some of you aren't Christians and you don't necessarily take a lot of stock in the Bible, but consider this. I'm sure that in your marriage, you recognize that your decisions impact not only you, but they impact your entire family, especially your spouse. If you accept a job offer that requires you to relocate 1,000 miles away from where you currently live, your decision impacts your entire family, most notably in the fact that you have to pick up and move. When I made the unilateral decision to accept the invitation to become an elder at our church, I made a decision which impacted both of us, not just me, and yet Amy had no say in the decision. Now thankfully she was willing to go along with it, but my choice to accept it wasn't what she wanted at all. In the past few years, we've grown to understand that marriage isn't about what's best for each of us as two individuals who are involved in the marriage. Instead, it's about what's best for the one being that we've become. As one, we work together to make decisions that are in the best interest of our family, even if those decisions happen to not be what might look best for one or both of us at the time. Now, this isn't to say that we consult each other about every little thing we do every day, such as the outfit that we'll wear or maybe the food that we're going to eat for lunch. But when it comes to decisions which impact us as a family, we found it to be very beneficial for us to make those decisions together. Now, one of the hardest things that we've had to wrestle with in the process of trying to make decisions together is figuring out what's going to be best for our family. I mean, how do we really know what's best for our family? Because we both spent our first 23 years of our lives learning how to make decisions which only impacted one person, thinking in these terms of what's best for the family was anything but natural. First, we had to learn how to care for each other as much as we cared for ourselves. When we first got married, we only knew how to be connected or concerned with making decisions that were best for our individual selves. But as we learned to love each other more, we began learning how to sacrifice our own desires so that we could give each other what the other one wanted. Now, however, this strategy by itself, it doesn't necessarily lead to a successful marriage. All it does is just basically give the other person what they want. There's another step that we had to take, and that is that we had to figure out what was really best for our family. Not even necessarily what was best for me or what was best for her, but what was best for us together as a unit. Now, I'm not going to claim that we've figured out exactly what's best for our family, and I don't think we ever will, but we've taken steps to point ourselves in a common direction through developing a family mission statement. Our family mission statement gives us a purpose for why our family exists and guides us in our decision making. Sometimes we make decisions which don't seem like they're going to be the best at benefiting either of us individually, but which will greatly benefit our family as a whole. For more information on developing a family mission statement, I'd encourage you to check out my blog post entitled Busy from June 14th of this year. If Amy and I had recognized the importance of making decisions together and had developed a family mission statement when we first got married, we would have saved ourselves a lot of heartache in our early years of marriage. Don't be like us. Learn from our mistakes. If you've been married for a while, it's never too late to change. I'd encourage you and your spouse to make the decision today to start making decisions together. If you've recently gotten married or you're planning to get married soon, I'd encourage you to start your marriage off on a good foot by making decisions together from the start. I can't guarantee anything, but experience tells me that it'll allow you to experience a deeper relationship with your spouse if you're making decisions together. And lastly, don't forget to check back next week for a discussion on our fourth strategy for a successful marriage: communicating openly.